The Kuki Inpi Sadar Hills, the top Kuki-Zo conglomerate, where all the interests meet, has urged members to abstain from the voting in the upcoming Lok Sabha elections. Now, Manipur is trying to bounce back from recent bout of ethnic unrest and is preparing for upcoming elections. In midst of heightened security, the state has seen a bout of recent conflicts and is, I would say, even there was a lull in the violence. Now, phase 1 kicks off on April 19, followed by phase 2 on April 26th. The two phases of polls are to ensure a safe and a secure electoral process. However, the Kuki-Zo top body is taking a step back from the upcoming polls, directing village chiefs to follow suit. Emphasizing unity, they clarify that this isn't a boycott but a conscious choice with no consensus candidate from the community. They have decided in coordination with stakeholders to abstain. The Outer Manipur Parliamentary Constituency has 4 candidates, and the Sadar Hills Kangpokpi District, with over 1 lakh voters, will have polling on April 19. The strife in Manipur began on May 3rd, 2023, triggered by tribal protests against the Meitei community's push for scheduled tribe status. Now, this episode itself is contested by both sides. Since then, 200 lives have been lost and thousands remain displaced. On this issue, before I go to my guest, let me just play out a bite of Biren Singh, the Chief Minister.
Whatever the Honorable Union Amit Shah ji said day before yesterday to keep the Manipur territorial integrity intact and Sajintra, Honorable Union Home Minister used a very, very, meaningful word. साजिंत्र करके बाहर से इन्फ्लुएंस करा के डेमोग्राफिक इम्बैलेंस करा के स्वतः स्टेट मणिपुर को बर्बाद करने की कोशिश किया था तो दैट उसी को प्राइम मिनिस्टर मोदी ने जाने के बाद में एफएमआर को हटाया है फेंसिंग का डिसीजन लिया है दैट इज द पॉइंट व्हाट द पीपल ऑफ मणिपुर वांट टू लिसन फ्रॉम द सेंट्रल लीडर्स ये देखिए डेमोक्रेसी है हर एक को कैंपेन करने का हक है हर एक को वोट करने का हक है इसको कोई रुकावट देने का किसी का हक नहीं है
In Imphal East district we have a total of 432 polling stations and 9 special polling stations, so that makes it 441 polling stations in total. And we have a total of 10 assembly constituencies that come under Inner Manipur Parliamentary Constituency 1. So we have by now we are done with all the preparation for the coming poll day that falls on 19th April 2024 in respect of Imphal East district, and we have also done very detailed extensive exercise on vulnerability mapping as well as finding out the criticality of the polling stations. So after making detailed assessment with jointly with our district police, so we have made full preparation in terms of security deployment, whether we should detail central armed police force or state armed police force and how many, etc. So that have been done.
On this, I'm joined by Dr. Thangalal Haukip and Group Captain Retired B. Nandakumar Sharma. Quickly, it's going to be a short conversation. Mr. Sharma, is it correct to ask people not to vote? I think that's not a correct thing to do. People should be encouraged to participate in elections.
Absolutely, Kartikeya, you are right. The voting rights should not be wasted. And in fact, all the citizens of India are encouraged to vote in this coming Lok Sabha election. Similarly, I request all the Manipuris who are staying in Manipur, irrespective of its caste and creed and ethnic, they must go and vote. However, it is an upset news to know that Kuki Inpi, they are abstaining and or they are boycotting it. It is indirectly challenging the constitution of India and the integrity of India as a whole, not only the integrity of Manipur. So it's government should take it seriously, and voting in Imphal Valley and as well as some outer areas where the Kuki-Zos are not inhabited, they will be participating in full swing in this coming Lok Sabha election. And I hope there are some sort of threatening not to vote. If you go to vote, they will be, they are threatening some parties, some miscreants are threatening the people who are going to vote. So, but however, I request all the people in Manipur not to get scared of such threats. And already the administration has taken care of the possible riots or possible mishaps. So people should not scared about the threats posed by different various groups. So people must go and vote and must participate in this beautiful democratic process. And once again, I condemn the Kuki Inpi group for calling and abstaining from the coming on Lok Sabha election. It is again challenge the Indian integrity as a whole. It must be
Okay.
taken very
Okay.
seriously. Karthikeyan.
Okay. Dr. Haukip, I mean, so what's the point of saying, please don't go vote? But what's the logic in it, sir?
Kartike, we have to understand the position of Kuki civil society organizations that, for the last 11 months, hardly any of the demands by the Kukis have been met. If you look into several demands made by the civil society organizations, you see that, they they have been, putting up several demands, whether it be from the subdivision to the district, and all these demands have not been met. And because of this, there are many other historical, political history of the Northeast. For instance, the Nagas. In 1951, they boycotted the first general elections, and within one decade, they were in the process of getting the state of Nagaland. So the Kukis feel that their grievances has not been addressed, and in order to address, or in order to put forward their grievances more specific, they wanted to, especially the youth wanted to boycott these elections. As you can see that, few days back, there were still killings, especially by the security forces, as well as the terrorist groups from Imphal Valley, who were coming and moving into the Kuki territories, and the two village volunteers were killed, and the brutality of those two youths who were killed, whose heads were
But
cut
Dr.
away,
Haukip, if you
arms.
don't
Look
vote in
into all
election,
those
don't you
brutalities.
disenfranchise
The
yourself?
youth have tried to still, boycott this, and the central government has to listen. Unless you listen to the other group also, how will people
But
come
don't you
to vote
disenfranchise
happily?
yourself, sir? Don't you disenfranchise yourself if you don't vote?
No, it's a collective kind of decision, because when none of your grievances are being addressed by the central government, how will they have this mind to come and vote for any of the parties? Earlier, the KPA candidate Wilson, who was willing to be a candidate in the Outer Manipur constituency, but he has withdrawn his candidature because of certain pressures within the society. So we have no candidate at all. There are other candidates from the
Okay.
Nagas. For instance, three of them were, campaigning
But
and
this, Dr.
trying to look at
Haukip,
the
this
candidates
begets a
correctly.
question. This begets a question, and the question is, Mr. Sharma, isn't a community falling in the trap? Home Minister has said that the territorial integrity will remain intact. There is no doubt about it. Biren Singh has reiterated. Don't you fall in the trap when you say that you're not going to participate in the elections? Then the whole feeling would be that the community does not want to come back to the mainstream.
Absolutely, Kartikeya. Firstly, I object the use of term by Mr. Haukip that our territory, entering into our territory. There is no separate territory within the
It's
Manipur.
Manipur's
It is
territory,
whole
India's
Manipur's intact.
territory, India's
Yes,
territory.
yeah, I strongly have objection, and of course, the problems addressed by Mr. Haukip, the Meiteis at large, all Manipuris are having, not only by the Kuki-Zo communities,
Correct.
the Nagas, the other communities, all are having the problem. But we are participating in this democratic exercise as a civilized or citizen or civilized nation. Why the Kuki Inpi should boycott? It shows that they do not believe to the democratic system of India, which is very serious, and government of India must take a very serious thought about it and must study what are the fault lines. Otherwise, it may create a lot of problem, as I have been telling, and a lot of intellectuals in the around around India are saying that the the militant groups in Bangladesh, how they are treated by the Bangladesh army, and even similarly in Myanmar, it is only the soft corners are given in India, And now the whole community is saying that we will not vote. That is, it is challenging the Indian constitution. So I request all the civilized citizens of India must participate, and democratic this process must not be boycotted in any cost. Kartikeya.
I think Dr. Haukip, Mr. Sharma has a very strong point, because you
So
boycott the
let's
elections, you're
not drag,
boycotting something very fundamental in, nation making process, which is like vote, government, governance.
Kartikeya, let's not drag the issue of Manipur too much, into the whole international boundary, because the Kuki-Zen groups in Bangladesh, they are demanding certain administrative mechanism within Bangladesh, and that's not, challenging the sovereignty of Bangladesh. And what we see in Manipur is that the underground groups from Imphal Valley are challenging the Indian state, the might of the Indian state, and demanding a sovereign Kangpokpi to be carved off from this territory. So while coming to the term territory, India has, as a sovereign country, has its own boundaries and territories, but there are also, different kind of territories in the northeastern region. For instance, the village, as you see it, whether it's the Nagas, Kukis, or Mijos, each village has its own territory or their boundaries. So they live on those resources, whether it's wood, water, or other kind of resources uh, for the livelihood. So armed groups coming and crossing beyond the so-called certain boundaries that were created since the beginning of this conflict, which is termed as the buffer zone, crossing the buffer zone and coming into the other territory and killing, those innocent guards who were looking after the villages. I think that's the kind of brutality we have seen in Imphal, which has not been seen for so long, since the killing of David Marr way back in March or April or May last year. So we have to look back into those kind of treatment to minorities in Manipur, and look into the grievance of the minority communities also. We have never talked about
Okay, but I
the
fundamentally
political
disagree with you.
settlements that
I
we have
fundamentally disagree with you. I fundamentally disagree with you. People individually can make a choice to come or not to come. That's part of the democratic process. But organizations today don't come to vote. It's a serious matter. It's like Jamaat-e-Islami in Kashmir asking people not to come to vote. It's a serious thing. As an individual, I don't want to vote. It is my right. But organizations coming into play, it's a serious issue. Mr. Sharma.
Yes, I do agree with you, Kartikeya. You have hit the point, and Mr. Haukip have said about the minority. The minority, what Mr. Haukip is saying, is very myopic view. If you see the minority in Manipur itself, the Kuki-Zo community becomes minority. But how you can see only in Manipur? You see as a whole community in India, the Mantais becomes a minority, not more than 20 lakhs in the whole of the world. Otherwise, the Kuki-Zo community is around 1.4 crores in all over India. So you cannot play this minority card. And also the buffer zone and crossing of all this buffer zone line, I need not to say or explain anything, because most of the time the armed groups of Kuki community are coming and attacking the
Okay.
Meiteis, and the retaliation happens. But I do not want to go back to such things. But why should we have a buffer zone in our state itself? This itself is a big question. And I strongly disagree with this minority card being played by Mr. Haukip. The Meitei itself is a minority in India. Please understand it. And the democratic process must be participated if we think ourselves as a citizen of India. Kartikeya.
Thank you, both of you. Thank you, Mr. Haukip. Thank you, Mr. Sharma, for joining me on this debate as to why a Kuki organization is saying that the Kuki should not go and vote. My personal opinion is that everyone should vote, and vote is a fundamental right. Organization should not dissuade people to vote. Individual does not vote, it's a different ball game. But if you ask people not to vote, you are creating hindrance in nation making process, because election brings people together, and it's a very important event. I would say it's the most fundamental thing to a modern democratic state.